Hello everyone. My name is Samat, and I think it's still raining outside, but I really like the mood in these rooms. I run a small outsource agency. We do some high-load backends and front-end for startups and big companies alike. I want to tell you a little bit of my story so you know where I'm coming from. Here's my partner, Fedor. And we are nothing alike. Where I am short, he is tall. He has some hair, I have none. And I am really scared to the death of tattoos. And he's in the process of having a full Japanese dragon on his back. So, yeah. But you'll see we have some things in common. First, we have the same background. Maybe you don't know these names, but these are some big names in Russia with millions of customers. For example, Bookmate is alternative to Amazon Kindle, I guess, on your iPhone or Android phone. And this service started long before there was even iBooks on an iPhone. So we had to do some crazy stuff to just make this rendering of the page flipping, etc., etc. And Medusa is one of the biggest independent news media outlets in Russia. Actually, shout out to a kinky dating service, Pure. Maybe someone using it, even using it today. It is actually from Lisbon. So with Fedor, we had like 20 years of experience leading technical teams together. And we've come to realize that everything is the same. You come to the new company, you assess the situation, the business, the needs of the company, and then you build a team and the processes around those needs, and then you become kind of an operations person. You support the business. You stop doing this hardcore technical stuff. And we couldn't find the business that we loved so much, so to stay in these companies for a long time. So our usual stint was like 3, 4, maybe 5 years, and then we were kind of, okay, what next? We really needed something new. And it was, I think, 4 years ago, in February, I guess. I just finished my work in Pure, and I was thinking about this next project. And I came to the meeting. It was a media company, etc., etc. And then I received a text message on my phone. Fedor texted me, "Hey, you have a really cool blog. Maybe let's grab some coffee." And I texted him back like, "Wow, I know your blog. It's really cool. Let's meet up." So we met up and we started doing some consulting. Actually, it started like, how about we do some consulting for the companies who need to level up their technical leadership or maybe their technical team. After all, we had some decades of experience, of combined experience building technical teams, so why not? Actually, building good teams, I think it boils down to building an environment in which good engineers, maybe great engineers, can thrive and do their best. So it's not actually doing some specific work. It's more about creating an environment in which these developers can do the great work. So companies were coming to me to hire a CTO, and I was selling them these services of this consulting gig we had. And it worked okay, I guess. But there were two main issues. First, this kind of work needs full-time dedication and very long commitment. Think maybe 6, 12 months minimum. And this is understandable because there is a lot of inertia inside people's minds, not just in the processes. Those you can rewrite and have like new rules of engagement for the teams or for the individual contributors. But you need to move something in the heads of developers, something in their souls, and it takes time and it takes like dedicated effort on your side, on the management side. This is problem one. And problem two, it doesn't scale at all. We couldn't find other people to do this work. We had to do it ourselves. And building a system in which you find people who can do this kind of work and teach them to do this kind of work, transformational work. It is a game these big consulting companies play, and like McKinsey and company, and we don't want to fight with them on their field. So we pivoted to outsource. After all, it is what we did. We built great teams, and then we delivered quality results for these product companies we previously worked on. We thought, let's do exactly the same thing, but with more companies, kind of scale this up. And while at it, let's go for a full developer paradise. After all, we didn't need to convince anyone anymore. We were like owners of the business, so we could do whatever we wanted. We started really small. It was a team of like few select people, maybe 4 or 5. The guys and gals we worked with before, so we knew they had tons of experience. These were the kind of people who deliver results despite all the obstacles. I think there is 2 big lies in software development. Actually, not in the software development, but in a software requirements business. First, they say, we don't know anything. We're not sure about anything. Let's figure something out. And it's not like the worst lie. The worst lie is, here are 400 pages of detailed specifications, but nobody really knows what we are doing and why are we doing this. And these were the guys who've seen it all and who can deal with this kind of environment. And this is how we started. To be honest, right now we are more like a normal team, but first I want to lay out you the 2 extremes. On the left you'll have a normal team, and on the right you'll have a dream team, and like a dream environment for me. So, on the left, we have daily meetings. Daily meetings are very important because this is only, I think, time in software development when each person could say, what have they done, what are they working on, and what are their blockers. This is the whole reason of these daily meetings. And then you have these Slack threads. They never stop. You cannot find the start. You can find the beginning of Slack thread, but you cannot imagine where it ends. You need a way to communicate your problems. That's why you have your Slack and to discuss solutions, right? Imagine and that's why you need working hours, so that you can grab a hold of a person and ask him questions and get something done. Just imagine if everyone in your company could write and read long-form prose, like really long texts containing all the background, all the information, all the context you need to solve a specific technical problem. Imagine a task tracker or whatever you use, where with a task like do X, you have all the context you need to do that task, to accomplish that task. That is a life we tried to live in our company. We have just one mandatory meeting, synchronous mandatory meeting per week with a client and developers, and where we discuss stuff like face-to-face and kind of sync on what's going on in our lives. But all the other communication is completely asynchronous. People write long-form prose and then read it. It's not so easy with clients, because they are not kind of aficionados of this style, but it works, more or less. And we have 4-day work week, because we had this hypothesis that most of the work is done only in a fraction of the working time. And all the rest of the time, you just kind of try to recover after that work, if you know what I mean. You do this intense workout, and then you have to chill out. And we tried to make a schedule which reflects this reality, our reality. So you can see we are kind of nuts. Like, we are not this normal working environment. And also, we were completely remote from the very beginning. So this new COVID trend with everyone going remote, first I hated it because I thought we lost our competitive advantage of like, we are a remote team. And in 2017, that was like, cool, guys, I want to work with you only because you are remote. And now everyone is remote. But my partner explained to me that I am wrong. Most of the companies try to emulate office work hours and work ethics via remote communication tools. So they have these stand-ups in Zoom, they have these Slack chats, and there are even, this spatial messenger space where they try to emulate these open office environments where you kind of can overhear people talking. So they are emulating this old world with the new tools. Also, something which was really important for us is this. I think most of you have seen this meme where the guy builds some castles in his mind about this specific problem, like backtracking, and if this and if that, and then all of it just destroyed by a manager casually passing by and asking, like, what about this? And he's like, boom. So we wanted to live without managers. You can see, to be honest, we are more normal right now after 4 years. We have some managers who deal with clients mostly, and client communications and invoices and stuff like that. But nobody pings a developer. That's like a hard rule. Okay, that was the stuff I discussed is really like crazy. But I think there are some, and I think most of the companies wouldn't go for working like this. And even maybe most teams and clients certainly wouldn't agree to work like this. But I believe there are some ground rules how to do software development in such a way that it's not too painful for developers day to day. And maybe even more importantly, it allows you to deliver high quality, and every word here is important, high quality work in a consistent pace. So consistency is really important for us. We are not going for like short sprint. We want to be able to deliver this work for years and years to come. And how do we achieve this? And what are the things which every company, I think, can benefit from without going this full way into this craziness? First, we can talk about tools and software. I think everyone agrees that, I'm sure that that developers should have the best tools available on the market, full stop. Like, for example, I think it's quite obvious that you buy an IDE that this particular developer wants to work on. Anyways, I think there are not many paid IDEs right now anymore, if you're not doing some esoteric stuff. If you're staying mainstream, I think it would be JetBrains products, if you are buying anything. Maybe some good database clients, if you do backend stuff. There are some fancy SQL clients which are really great to save queries and to view them in a table fashion, etc., etc. But it is obvious, right? One thing this point is less obvious. A lot of companies I know prefer cheaper options, or maybe even free alternatives to a lot of software as a service products like GitHub. For example, they roll out their own GitLab instead of GitHub. Or they try to self-host Sentry instead of paying to Sentry.com. And I certainly encountered my fair share of unusably slow Jira installations. Anyone else with this experience? And inevitably, you will have outages and problems upgrading and losing data and configuration while upgrading your installations. And I think the worst part is that in a lot of times, developers are the ones who have to manage these installations. And that is, in my mind, is just crazy. Considering the market for developers and that you have to do everything you can to keep the developers, you know. Another thing, I think it might. I understand Datadog is really expensive if you ever tried it. Why am I going to dedicate the whole slide or even much of my time of this talk talking about this specific product and maybe about application performance monitoring tools in general? Because they give you total visibility into your production system. You can see not only the slow pages, you can see individual queries which lead to these slow pages, slow URLs in your system. And that is just crazy. You go inside the project, and then you select some request on the right, and then you can dig into specific queries, or even, or you can switch to exception view, for example. It's almost like having a debug view into your production infrastructure. It's actually crazy. If you never used it, just try it for once. And it's really hard to go back after that. And it has very little performance penalties, so it's really worth it. I think my greater point on this APM, application performance monitoring services, is that a predictable system which you're building and working on leads to a happy developer experience. After all, what is a predictable system? Let's go into the details. First, I want to talk about tests. Tests are our religion, and I don't mean specifically test-driven development in each project, but we almost always have a full coverage, and of course we do CI/CD in a full automated fashion. Why? Here the memes start. Because consider you have a very successful project. In some time, you'll have either a very large code base or a very old code base, or maybe both. Now imagine you need to make some tiny change in this code base. And I'm sorry, but usually you'll have to make these changes quite often. You can either walk on the eggshells, and every time you need to make this small change, you feel like, oh my God, it could break in some places I don't remember, I cannot even predict, or maybe I haven't even worked on these parts of the system. Or you can feel like Shiva, who is a destroyer of worlds, if you have watched Oppenheimer. These tests bring predictability. It brings you ability to change any part of the system you like and not be too concerned about breaking some other part, about having this second-degree effects on this complex system. It's really, I think it gives you this aura of a mage developer who can come in to a very complex system and fix some stuff without breaking other stuff. And I think I will continue with memes for a while now, because I really think it's so important part of my presentation today. Just write that. It's so simple. It's nothing like, it's not rocket science. And you'll feel like a left guy, not the right afterwards. And this is the meme I love the most, because it sounds almost silly, you know. Just write text. It's not rocket science, but still. To wrap it up, from a business perspective, which I think is what drives most of the decisions in our space, because I've heard this question on a lot of other talks today and even yesterday. People ask, like, how do I convince my management team to do X or Y or Z? And my answer is very simple. If you adhere to the simple principles, you do very small investments over the long period, over the long time, over the life of this project, of your project you have. But these small investments bring you happy developers, which means low attrition, high quality, yada, yada, yada. And most importantly, in my understanding, my thinking, is it gives you a predictable delivery. So the features will be coming every week or every month or every half year. I don't know how you work, but it wouldn't be this situation where a lot of companies find themselves, where they put a lot of resources into the task and they cannot predict, they cannot say when it will be done. This is very common experience in software development, I think, from what I have encountered. And these principles can save you from that. I also think that our industry at the moment is really obsessed with speed, with development speed, for example. And we are not paying enough attention to keeping pace in the long run. And these tools and tricks I've talked about today are more about surviving the marathon rather than beating the sprint. You see the sprint here. Thank you very much. I don't know how much. Yeah, 40 minutes, good. Thank you.
It's time for questions. Who wants to start?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you for the talk. I have a lot of questions, and first question about test. You said you use TDD, but TDD usually means unit tests, and you said that if we have good unit tests, we can push our code to production easily. But I think that unit test is not so helpful like end-to-end test. Okay, my first question, you said about tests. What kind of test? It's Intuit test, it's unit test, or what kind of test?
It's an excellent question because, of course, unit tests are not silver bullets. You cannot be sure that the whole system is working correctly if you are not testing the whole system and not just a part of the code. But I think it's a rabbit hole in a good way. If you start covering your code with tests in the beginning, you start thinking with why am I trying to test the whole system integrally afterwards manually? And then you start thinking, we had manual testers not in our company, but in the previous companies we worked before. But right now, to be honest, we don't have even a single manual tester in our company. Developers almost, if you put enough effort to it, in most of the times you can find some way to test the whole system automatically. It takes effort, and it's not so easy. And I didn't have enough time, and I think your attention and patience to speak about how to test systems automatically in a fashion that. But I think TDD and unit testing is a really good start, because if you start from that, it becomes less of philosophical discussion, more of a technical discussion. If that makes any sense.
Okay. Second question about your test. Can you right now change the code, push in production, close your laptop, and go to the bar? So is your test so reliable or not? Be honest, please.
Of course they are not, and they couldn't ever be. But I see this argument a lot of times from the people who advocate for not writing tests at all. Kind of let's get features first and deal with technical debt, they call it, later. And that is kind of, yeah, but you never deal with it later. You deal with it. I'm quite confident saying that because I did consulting work, and companies asked me to help with their code base and their software development at the point where they didn't write tests, they accumulated this technical debt, and there comes a point in every company where you cannot ship anything. Kind of, you have a big team, they are doing some work, but they cannot ship. And I think that is the reason why, because they do not, they kind of,
but you said that test is like silver bullet, which helps a lot to make our life super easy.
No. It's of course I am being maybe too maybe I'm pushing this to the point where it becomes like, are you crazy? But this is a reaction to the reality we are in, where people do not write tests and accumulate technical debt endlessly until they grind to a halt. So this, I'm just trying to push this overtone window, like at least to this side a little bit. So it's not like, yeah.
Okay.
And maybe my experience is very skewed in a sense that I worked with companies which arrived to this point. Maybe there are some other ways to.
Everybody works in this. It's our life.
Yeah.
Hello, my friend.
Hi.
Very nice presentation. Thank you. I also have a question about test. It's very interesting topic. So, you said that you always write a test when you're doing something feature. And what about maybe some hard integrations, like maybe integration with AI, or maybe some product experiments when you're not sure it will stay or no, like you want to be quicker? Do you still write a test, or do you have some hybrid option for that?
It's a very good question. Even if it is a hypothesis I think I mostly work for product companies, and the whole life of product company is testing hypotheses, right? One after another. So I don't think it's a wise decision to say like, we're not so sure about this feature, so let's not cover this with tests because maybe it will stay, maybe it will not. It's a ground rule, and it sets the expectations for the business side of business people that we are not so quick. We are not. We might be like 30% slower than a team which does not write tests in the beginning. But after 2 years, I guarantee you, we will be like 60% faster than that team because our pace is very consistent. This is one part. Second part of the question, I think, is about integrations, about the parts of the stack which you cannot reliably test, especially in finance. Usually, you have this kind of staging sandbox payment environments which do not work at all. And I have no good answer to that, other than that we plan all the integration work in the project. We think that we treat all the integration work in the project as first very expensive, very long time taking. Second, as very unpredictable and hard. So we do all the integrations in the very beginning, even maybe manually, but we try to do all the integrations. And we plan. Like you think how much time will it take, and then multiply it by 3 maybe, and then it kind of works out. Yeah, but we found no way to reliably test people outside, especially companies outside where they change things with no notification. That's a life kind of.
Okay,
Yeah.
Another question about tests, I guess. No?
I don't like tests. I would not ask about tests. So I have a question. Firstly, thank you very much for your podcast, Lunch Tomorrow in English. Yeah, really great job.
Thank you.
The question is about remote teams, because I'm fully remote. I was dreaming about such job, and a lot of companies, big companies, they're trying to get people back. So that's why I switched, actually, because I didn't want to come back to the office after COVID. So do you feel that people, they like, I think you don't feel that they're less productive, but how you deal with that? Because for example, you have some, I don't know, I hope
20
you don't...
developers?
Huh?
We have 20 developers.
Yes, it doesn't matter. Just how with people you speak, and like you not control how many hours they work. Are they enough mature, for example, or maybe they worked less hours, but they're still efficient with that? And so remote.
We thought about this question a lot with my partner. And I think our answer is we do not control time, just some ground rules, because it doesn't make any sense, because we don't want their time, we want the results, the work shift. What else? We don't really have some scientific method of understanding if this person is underperforming or overperforming, but we have this feeling, and I think all the managers who are long enough in this job can kind of feel that, even not in an instant, but if you work with someone for 2 or 3 or maybe 5 weeks at least, you have a feeling of like, is this person or this team delivering the result which should be predictable from a team or an individual of this caliber? And if we feel like they are underperforming, we talk about it. Like, we feel they are underperforming, and what's going on? We don't have any. It's a gut feeling mostly. We don't have any scientific method for that, and I would really like some scientific method. But from what I have seen in the industry, in general, people who tell they have a scientific method, in the end, they rely on their gut feeling. So. Yeah.
And also about remote. So, do you have some rules how quick, how fast people should answer? Because I am struggling with last years in COVID that sometimes you wait for a long time.
Yeah, it's a good one. We have a policy in our company that any question should be answered in 24 hours. Cool. If it's a working time, like if it's not the holidays. And that is quite challenging, I should say, for the managers, because you really need to kind of plan ahead. You cannot do this standard manager stuff when you ping someone and then ask one question, spoon feed the information, and then think of like what's going on. You should, as a manager, this forces you to be more open with developers and to kind of take a leap of faith that the developer would understand the problem at hand and will find a good solution for you. It's really challenging for managers, I think, mostly, not for developers.
Yeah. And the last question, are you planning to make more content in English, like Lunch Tomorrow for people?
I really don't know. My English is not that good, so yeah.
But the content is awesome. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks. Thank you very much for your attention and for suffering with my English, and to the organizers of this wonderful conference here in Lisbon. Thanks. Yeah, a lot of time.
Let's discuss.
Okay.
It's not about tests, no. It's about first part. Then you said about your dream team, dream work. Do you know who's Igor Bugayenko?
I think I've heard of him.
Yes, and he has his own vision of how remote companies should work. And actually, you describe something like this. everything is remotely. You should write everything in task. You collaborate by text, but it's so unhealthy. Who knows this? Who knows this guy? Yeah. Do you think his system is okay? And then you describe this. It's like there is. So it's not like human
this
being
is very
work.
unnatural.
Yes, it's unnatural. Yes.
I think the whole industry is very unnatural in a sense. Like you're sitting for 8 hours with your laptop, not running in a field with goats and stuff.
Okay, if you don't know, look at his vision, and I think you can find something interesting thing. But in general, it looks like, oh no, I don't work. I don't want to work in a company like this.
To be serious, I think we do not. It's very important that we do not substitute humanity with this like strict rules on that you have to write everything, etc. And we are humans after all. Sometimes we cannot reach an agreement in like 2 text messages. Like he writes some text and I write some text, and I understand we didn't come to the conclusion. And then I ask that person to jump into a Zoom call tomorrow maybe, or even maybe today if he can find time. And then we discuss it face to face. But I think it's very, if you allow me to make a food analogy, we are not liking snacks. We either have a good meal, like meet face to face and speak with someone. We've discussed this in Zoom, or we don't eat at all. And I think it's more healthy than having these small bites of information and small bites of discussion in Slack. I really hate chats, for work. I like it for friends communication, but I really hate it for work, because I think right now, if you are working in a normal company, in a normal IT company, you have a lot of streams of communications open at the same time, and you have to keep tabs on a lot of open processes, and that taxes your brain a lot, in my opinion. And it's much easier to work in these chunks of you dedicate your attention to a specific problem and you work on it, and then you close it and forget it. I think it's much more healthier in a sense, in a psychological sense. Yeah, and that's what we are trying to achieve after all, not some like strict rules on writing text, etc. It's just a tool to achieve that. We are trying to be more productive, like to use our brains in more productive way. Yeah, if that makes sense. Do you remember some years ago Apple introduced this feature in MacBooks where they aggregated all the tasks, all the small CPU tasks that before that were spread out in the time, and they did all the computation in small bursts, and CPU were going to this deep sleep state in between these bursts. We're trying to do the same thing with our brains, essentially.
Not a question, but just to share my experience, we have a totally different company.
Okay.
We use pair programming. We write all the code in pairs, and I believe this is what makes developers happy and really effective. We always work in office in pairs, and we are happy because every developer always has somebody to discuss all the questions, all the problems, and to take responsibility with. And I believe this is really effective, like not remote and not chats.
This is a very different approach, and I think it's totally like I think there are different people really with different personality types and different preferences.
Believe me, not absolutely all people are okay with pair programming. Okay, except some very, very corner cases. It's very typical to think that no, it's only for extroverts, but actually it works for all. And yes, we write tests.
Do you use like one computer for 2 developers or two computers?
One computer, 2 monitors, 2 keyboards.
Wow.
Yes.
This is like, I've never heard of it.
Yes, by the way, it's called ping pong programmers.
This is really cool. I'd like
Okay.
to learn more about it. Yeah,
I have a
thanks.
question. Thank you very much for the talk. So I want to ask about managers. From my perspective, managers don't exist to distribute tasks. They exist to ensure that people stay motivated, that the team is healthy, and like those things. So in your situation, how do you ensure that people are motivated, teams are healthy, those things?
That's a tough one. We have these whole company meetings where everyone fly to some city and we meet and work in person for 1 week. That is one way to ensure we have like friendly and healthy relationships. I think people are wired in such a way that it's better to meet each other in person. We do not manage it properly, I think. We don't have processes put in place to ensure that everyone is happy and everyone is good. We say that if you're not happy with something, just write to us, and then we'll schedule a meeting. But it doesn't really work well, and I think it's one place where we can really do that much better than we are doing right now. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's one thing we are all thinking about and trying to find a good balance of doing properly, but at the same time, we do not want to do this kind of. It's hard to find for us. It's hard to find balance between being too intrusive and just letting everyone do their own thing. Yeah, thanks.
So, thank you for questions, for discussion, for opinions. And let's say thank you to Samat for his presentation.
Thank you. Thanks.